Okay, so hi, my name is Anush, and in this video, I am going to talk about Masai School, my experience, and as the title suggests, I'm going to talk about a lot of things. So I just completed the entire Masai School program and went through the Android development um, curriculum, and I did get a job after having completed the entire program and the entire going through the system, and it's way above 5 LPS, so no, so don't worry about that. So this is me just like talking about what my experience was like and what you can take from my experience. And if you want any advice, I have a list of advice I would give somebody who was starting out. And so I'm just going to refer to my notes and let's get started. So firstly, Masai School is not a school. It's called a school, but it's not actually a school. It's a startup, and they turn like aspiring developers into proper professional developers or proper professional programmers. And so if you ask me like to rate the whole experience of 7-8 months now, I would give them a pretty high rating. Like out of 10, I would probably give them like above 7. Not quite 10 because that's not a fair rating. So, but I would definitely give them a rating above 7. So overall, the experience has been really good. So as I said, Masai School is a startup, so you shouldn't expect like extremely polished system, an extremely polished system, but overall it's actually a pretty well thought out and pretty well structured, uh, system. So the number one thing, like there's a few pieces of advice that I can give somebody who's thinking about doing Masai School. The first one is obviously don't come into Masai with like a mindset that this is a school and these are teachers and they will hit me if I don't do my best, etc. They're not going to do that. These are very professional people and they will treat you like an adult. The goal is to become like a professional software developer, but they're not going to treat you like a child. They will treat you like a proper adult. And so you should come in with expecting that this is not a school, this is a professional training type situation. During this video, I will be referring to my notes, so don't worry if I'm like hesitating or something. And it's a long video, so if you're genuinely thinking about joining Masai School and learning Android, there will be a lot of information in this video. So, and if you need proof, I'm actually wearing my Masai School t-shirt. So, I'm not just some random person. So let's get started with, I can't talk about web, I can talk about Android because I went through the Android curriculum with Lloyd and Shivraj. And since Masai is a startup, a lot of things might change in the future. So I don't know like what advice in this video will be valid whenever you watch it and whenever you go ahead and apply. So the first piece of advice I would like to talk about is that you should actually come in with a mindset of wanting to become a professional developer. So they will train you very effectively, and all of the things that you learn, like if you try to learn Android development on your own, it's extremely difficult. The learning curve is very steep. And on top of that, even if you somehow manage, let's say you go to like YouTube and you watch YouTube tutorials, or you go to Google Code Labs, or all of that kind of stuff, you can do that and you can be a pretty good Android developer, but it can take a long time. And the benefit of having someone who has built applications and who has essentially, done all of the things that you will be doing on the job before, the experience is actually much better. And so, for example, if you learn Android development from YouTube, you can actually do that, but the YouTuber or the person or Udemy or any of these Google Code Labs as well, if you try to ask anybody for like any if you have any doubts or if you want to ask anyone, you know, eh, like imagine if you're stuck somewhere and you want to ask them a question, you can't actually do that on YouTube because you will leave a comment and then wait for like 5-6 days for that comment to be answered, or it might never get answered. So in that sense, I think being a part of Masai, where the instructors have actually built applications, they've actually gone through the, solving the bugs that you will also encounter in your own program. That helps a lot. So this brings me to a second piece of advice, which is ask a lot of questions. So one experience that I had, since all of the lectures are like live, or all the sessions are live and on Zoom, a lot of people don't actually ask many questions. Like they don't, because for whatever reason, they don't want to ask a lot of questions and they don't want to ask a lot of doubts. And also because I think the pace of the curriculum is also pretty fast. So maybe they don't have time to ask questions, but as much as you can, I think I would advise you to ask a lot of questions. So just type in the comment box, or if the instructor says, hey, you can unmute and speak, you should just unmute and ask questions very quickly. So I would do that. The next piece of advice I can talk about, I guess, is you have to make Masai your priority. So for 7 months, your priority has to be Masai School. You can't like treat Masai School as a part, like, I mean, there is a part-time course and you can actually, think about it as a part-time course, but since you will be evaluated on your attendance and your assignments, make sure that your attendance is 100%. So, and in today's world, like making sure that your attendance is 100% is not that difficult. But like you can just click on a Zoom link and enter the Zoom meeting, and your attendance will be pretty high. And it should be 100% because you should attend every single meeting that they ask you to attend. So make sure that your attendance is 100%. That's the second piece of advice I would give you. So, and again, don't try to game the system. Like, don't try to attend the Zoom meeting and then just leave immediately. Don't do any of that. So that's a bad idea. But I would say keep your attendance at 100% because that's very easy to do. The second thing you will be evaluated on as far as Masai is concerned during the course is your assignments. So, and I have a few pieces of advice as far as assignments are concerned. So every week we had like lectures and then we would have assignments, or every day we would have lectures and assignments. And initially it was very frustrating because I couldn't complete all of the assignments. But over time, what I realized was that you should think about the assignments as if it's a buffet. So you don't like during the assignments, you don't have to complete all of them, but you should try to complete basically all of them. But you shouldn't like think of it as if you have to complete all of them. You don't have to complete them, but they are designed to help strengthen your fundamentals. So complete as many as you can and think of it as a buffet. So just pick the ones that you find really interesting and then try completing them extremely diligently and very well so that you learn a lot of things from the experience. Because a lot of the projects that you'll be building later on will be dependent on the assignments that you did in the previous units. And this is another piece of advice I can give you, which is in the first 3 units, like unit 1, 2, and 3, you should try to complete almost all of the assignments because they are very important. But after unit 3, I think you can kind of think of it more like a buffet of assignments where you should just complete the ones that you're interested in. And then you eventually will have to do the ones that you're not interested in as well, but you can put them off for later. But initially, the first 3 units at least, you should try to do all of the assignments. But again, don't stress out if you can't complete all of them. Or don't take like huge amounts of pressure or stress. So this brings me to the third piece of advice I can give you, which is don't take too much pressure and too much stress throughout the program, because there are a lot of lectures, there are a lot of kind of sessions that you'll have to go through, but in general, you should take care of your health, and you should like not stress out too much. And this is actually advice that I got in the beginning of Masai. So I had attended this optional session, and the guy who was also an alumni, he was also saying that don't take pressure and stress. So Masai will try to push you because that's the only way you can, that's the only way you can actually improve. But don't take too much stress and don't take too much pressure. What else can I talk about? So we've covered a lot of things. Okay, so Masai, the whole course is like divided into data structures and algorithms and Android. So I can talk about DSA a little bit as well. So as far as actually it's three things. It's Android, data structures and algorithms, and CSBT, which is communication skills and behavioral training, all of which are really important, and you should probably attend. Again, your attendance has to be 100%. As far as DSA is concerned, you will have to go through contests. So during these contests, I think I would refer to the editorials a lot. So if you had to do something, like if you had to solve a problem and if you're stuck, I would refer to the editorials. And again, during the evaluations, etc., don't try to solve all of the problems that they give you, because they're designed to not be like the contests are designed so that no one can solve all of the problems in the given time. So you should try to strategize and solve only as many as you possibly can solve. Yeah, so that's about data structures and algorithms. What else can I talk about? Okay, so an interesting topic that I can actually give you a little bit of advice on is the ISA. So when you join Masai, you don't actually pay for anything. Like you don't pay because it's entirely online. It's over Zoom, and you are bringing your own computer and your own internet connection. So you don't have to pay for anything unless and until you get a job as a programmer and as a software developer. You don't actually have to pay for anything. So the thing about the ISA is, when I first got the ISA agreement or the ISA contract, and I read it, I thought it was very like complicated and it was quite harsh. But what I realized after having gone through 7 months of Masai is that they don't actually, like, the ISA is there, but it's like a it's like a precaution, right? So if you're trying to mess around with Masai's system, then they might bring out the clauses out of the ISA and they might kind of explain to you why you can't do something. But overall, what my experience has been is that they don't just like threaten you with ISA clauses if you don't do something. So they use those things very sparingly. So don't worry about the ISA. If you sign it, like, it's 100% safe. I don't think they will like abuse the privilege or anything. So yeah, that's just a quick thing about the ISA. So if you're thinking like, oh, this ISA contract is crazy or whatever, don't think about it like that. They're not going to abuse that privilege or that contract, essentially. And then I'll also talk about placements, but I'll talk about that at the end of this video. So as far as the course curriculum is concerned, I went through the Android curriculum, which is actually really good. And it's actually the best way to learn Android development, as I said, because Lloyd and Shivraj they've built applications before. So if you encounter any bugs, etc., they will actually have already encountered them, and they can solve them for you very quickly. The other thing I would say, the other piece of advice I would give you is use the IA system as much as possible. So in Masai, you have these instructional associates or these IAs. In my case, there was this guy called Siddharth, and he was extremely helpful. So whenever you have like stand-up meetings or whatever, or Zoom meetings with these IAs, I would make a list of whatever you weren't able to solve during that day or that week. And the most kind of troubling thing, like if you are learning about some specific topic and you don't understand it, you should ask the IA and they will solve that doubt very quickly. So the key thing is to not like get discouraged because you can't solve any problem. The best thing you can do is just talk to the IA, and I would use that resource as much as I could, essentially. So that's another piece of advice. Use IAs as much as possible. So I've also called this video do's and don'ts, right? So I'll quickly talk about some of the things you shouldn't do. The number one thing is obviously plagiarism. So don't engage in any kind of plagiarism. Don't try to share code. The interesting thing about plagiarism is that if you try to help someone and if they try to help you, the problem is that Masai, imagine if you keep on helping somebody with code, like if you give them your solutions and if you just give them your code, they copy paste it and they solve the contest or they send the assignment off. If they pass through the entire system and they get a job, they won't be able to perform on the job, and that causes something called a false positive. And that is a bad thing, because then the employers will be like, hey, we hired this guy from Masai and he couldn't solve like a simple problem because he used to get code from somebody else. So that will not be good. So, and Masai is very strict about plagiarism. So don't cheat, basically. That's something you shouldn't do. Then, okay, so we can talk about the ISA a little bit later. Before that, I would say, as far as Android is concerned, so if you have some amount of experience with Android development, but you just want to like become a professional Android developer, Masai is a really good way to do that. But if you really want a good piece of advice before you start the Android curriculum, I would say learn Git on Android before starting up, because a lot of people did not know how to use Git, and that caused a lot of problems. So just learn Git as quickly as possible for Android Studio. So yeah, that's just a quick piece of advice. Then I'm going through my notes just to figure out if there's anything else I can talk about. Yeah, so Masai basically helps you with everything. They help you with, you will develop not only programming skills, but also like how to work in teams. You will have real experience on what it's like to work with professionals, and you will have like, you will be exposed to industry mentors and stuff like that. So the other thing, the other piece of advice that I can give you is get very comfortable with Zoom. So since we are in a remote world, so be very comfortable with having your laptop camera on or having your phone camera on or whatever you want to use, and frame yourself correctly and have enough lighting and stuff like that. So if you can just have a really good like Zoom setup, you will be ahead of like 60-70% of the Masai batch, basically, whatever your batch is. So make sure you're extremely comfortable with the camera. So that's definitely one piece of advice. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you will be going through projects, building portfolios, and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's a whole experience in and of itself. Yeah, so the last thing I can talk about is evaluations. So the way that Masai works is you have evaluations every single, at the end of every sprint, and every single week you also have weekly evaluations. So evaluations are a really good, they're not examinations. So they're a really good opportunity to find out what you have learned and what you have not learned. And so I would put the most amount of effort I can during the evaluations, but I wouldn't try to like take too much stress if you aren't able to perform during evaluations. So yeah, take them extremely seriously. Don't skip any of them, but don't like be extremely stressed out if you can't complete all of the questions or if you get stuck or anything. But do make an effort, because most of the questions during the evaluations are really easy questions. There's only one or two questions or probably one or two evaluations that are extremely difficult, but most of the time it's really easy stuff. So if you've been paying attention, attending the sessions and doing like the basic assignments, you will be able to solve them. So nothing to worry about there. Yeah, other than that, yeah, so one of the reasons why Masai as a system works is because they say that they want to teach you, not just teach you software programming, but also teach you how to learn yourself. And I think the one expectation that you might have of Masai is that it's like a school where they'll spoon feed you like every single little concept, and that's not going to happen. So this is a professional training kind of a system. So they're not going to teach you like extremely basic stuff. And ultimately, you have to develop the skill of like learning how to learn. And just by being a part of the system, like if you don't quit during the 7 months journey, you will, by the end of it, learn how to learn pretty much anything. So the number one piece of advice, and this is probably the last piece of advice that I can give you, is don't quit. Like if you genuinely want to be a developer, if you want to be a programmer, you have the motivation and the intent and the curiosity to work in the software industry, the number one thing you shouldn't do is you shouldn't quit. So that's actually the last piece of advice I can give you. Hopefully I've covered some, details that have made sense. And overall, it's a great experience going through the entire system. You can learn things extremely quickly, and your skills just grow exponentially. And once the 7 months are over, you will also, like me, have a job and have a lot of skills. And then, the sky's the limit and the universe is the limit, essentially. So yeah, that's all the advice that I had. This is a long video. I had to refer to notes, so I apologize if I was hesitating. But thank you for watching, and give me a like. Just type comments down, in the comment box if you have any questions. If I can answer them, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.